So I am making a follow-up video to doing the window track on my 2000 Honda Civic HX Coupe. As I said in the previous video, it kind of details a lot of this work. The window track is this guy right here that runs all the way around your window. It is the little rubber piece right here. On the previous video I didn't do a very good job of explaining the install process, so I'm just going to go through the whole thing again just to have a more clean, detail-oriented video. So I'm going to go through and do the whole removal and installation of this part. So the first thing we're going to do is come inside the car. As well, the reason to replace this is, as listed in the other video, your window track is broken, cracked, or you have a window that when it starts to go up will jump out of the track and just ride on the track, and then when it gets to the top it won't seat inside of it. So that'll happen when the rubber gets worn out or there's any pressure put on the window when it's going up or down at some point. And then when it sits over that track, it'll basically wear down that part of the track it's sitting on and bend it into place. And then it will just keep jumping off of the track at that point. And that's going to be an issue for sealing out water because the window won't fully seal. It's going to make a lot of wind noise while you drive. So this is a good repair to do if you're already doing like a window motor, because your window may be going up or down slowly, or your window may not go up or down at all. That's a good reason to replace a window motor. And then just replacing the track will vastly increase the speed at which the window goes up and down, because it removes a lot of that built-up friction from the rubber degrading along the window track lines. It's just standard rubber. Over time it wears down. I mean, the original window track made it 18 years before being replaced. As I detailed in the other video, a quick fix on dealing with windows that are going up or down slow is you can put white lithium grease into the track and run the window up and down and kind of smear it into the channel itself. That is a temporary fix. That will not be a permanent fix, but it will definitely help. As well, detailed in the comments of that video, white lithium grease does not degrade butyl rubber, which is one of the more standard rubber compounds that manufacturers use. It's strong, it's durable, it's flexible. In all research I've done, lithium grease and lithium itself won't break down the actual rubber material. So the first thing we're going to jump into is getting the door panel off, which is going to be, pull this handle out. There's going to be a Phillips screw in there. You're going to need to hold the handle open while you take that one out. And then you're going to take the Phillips screw out of the door handle. So we're starting to take our door handle off. You're going to be able to basically just pull this right out after you get the screw out. You're going to see the handle's kind of caught around it. If you have the electronic locks on the LX, EX, HX, any of those ones will have this electronic lock. You're going to have a plug right behind it. Pull the plug on that, and that's going to come off. And then you're going to take the handle and you're going to rotate it around the handle itself, and it'll come right off. There's your handle assembly. Set that aside. And then for this guy, there's a fin on the front, and there's just a little notch on the back. So when it's sitting in here, all you need to do is scoot it a little forward. The back will come up, pull it back, the front will come up, take it out. There's your window controller plug. You're going to unplug that on your clip right there. Plug's unplugged on the window controller. Next, we're going to come down to the speaker area where your grill is going to be sitting over your speaker. It's going to be sitting like this. This guy, just put a flathead or a trim tool piece in there and it'll come right off. It's all just pop clips. Set that aside, and then there are going to be screws in each one of these holes that hold the door panel to the frame. So you're going to take all three of those Phillips screws out. So we've got all three Phillips screws taken out of those holes, and then you're going to either take a flathead screwdriver or a trim tool piece, bottom of the door, and pop it free of the push pins on the back of the door, and that will give you play here. up at the top of the door, we're going to take out this cover piece here. You can usually just grab these and pop them free, and then they just come right up and out. That's just a little cover over the mirror control. Now our door panel is free, so we're going to lift this guy up off of the door itself and take it out. And at this time our speaker is still connected, and there's a few different ways you can disconnect the speakers. I'm not sure which way mine's connected. I think mine's hardwired actually, and I usually just leave it attached, but the factory Honda speakers will usually have a plug that you can just take out of the back of them. So door panel is off. As I said, my speakers are hardwired by whoever installed these speakers. I don't really have access behind the speaker to unclip these from their pins. I'm just going to leave it as is. This is just more work to take it apart. And just leave my door panel kind of here, right next to the door. And this is where your vapor shield will be, usually a sheet of plastic. This vapor shield has been missing since I've owned this car, so it has been sealed with duct tape to have some level of seal on it. A better seal would probably be some visqueen heavy-duty plastic taped around all of the openings on the door, and being wary not to cover any of your control linkages or any of your stuff like this where your screws come through. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take out the bolts in the bottom of the window track. And give me a second to find those. So it was actually a mistake on that next step there. Here's your guide bolt for your window track that runs up through the door, up to there. What we're actually going to do is we're going to grab our window controller switch, this guy, and we are going to plug it in and put the window down so I can get the window out of the upper track, the actual top of the window. So we've got the window down all the way in the bottom of the door. I did take my control off again just so it's out of the way. So this is the bolt for the bottom of the track on the open side of the door. So you're going to take this out. This is a 10mm bolt. And then on the hinge side of the door, we've got the same thing, identical looking bolt down here, another 10mm. You're going to take that out, and then up top, you're going to take this little 10mm right here out of the track here, and then we'll be able to pull the track itself out. So we got all three of those bolts out. 1, 2, 3. Well, 2 bolts and a nut. And then what we are doing, put our controller back on. I had to put mine back on. And behind this portion of the door right here is where you need to be. Get at the window bolt right there. Bolt that holds the window to the motor itself. And the other one is right here. Those are 10mm as well. We just need to loosen them so they will slide to the opening in it, and we can take the window up and out of the track so we can get all that rubber out. So we got our bolts out. My window's just sitting at the bottom of the door right now. Just sitting down on the bottom of the door in the track. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wiggle it out of the way of the track. You see how it's sitting really far inside the door now as opposed to where the track is. You can see down there I've got it all the way pressed back that way. And what that's going to allow us to do is side here. I can't quite see in there. So if you look down the track of the door, actually, you can see the window is no longer on the rubber track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot it this way towards the hinge, the window, towards the hinge, so I can get this side of the track out, and then I'll move it back to get the other side of the track out. So back down here, at the bottom of the door, with our window scooted this way, you can stick your hand up inside here. You can see I've got the track right there. At the bottom of the track, you'll feel the rubber. You can just kind of peel it with your finger out of the track, and then you'll be able to just pull it, and that'll start to pull it out of the track this way until you get up to here, and then you'll be able to go through and peel this whole part of the track out. And so I am very inclined not to take mine out, as this is brand new from my last install. But basically, you'll be able to just peel this whole thing out, come to the corner, peel it along here, all along the top of the door, and you can just stop here at the top of the door. You'll scoot your window back so it's out of the way. And then from the top, you should just be able to pull this entirely out of the track. And then you'll have your new rubber track. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your leg for the open side of the door, and you're going to stick the leg down into the door. And then you'll take your leg for the hinge side of the door and stick it down into the door. And then you're going to want to come up to this point where your corner is, and you're going to take your corner and you're going to press it into the guides inside the door. I can pull this back some so we can look at that. So this gives you an idea of what I'm saying. So inside there, you'll see a few rivets. Not rivets, sorry, but lines in the metal. And those are all little catch points for the rubber to sit into to get it in. So it's kind of hard to do balancing my camera and the light at the same time. So you can see rubber comes all the way around as this track. What you're going to do is you're going to get your corner in, and it's going to be a little hard because I didn't fully take mine out. But you're going to get your corner in, and then you're going to wedge it in there. You're going to make sure your wraparound piece wraps around all the way. Make sure this sits nice and firm. This spot right here should be fairly firm. This is where the window is going to press against the seal. And then you're going to work your way down the track. And what you want to make sure is as you move down the track that you are taking up all the slack from the track as you come down. Because you don't want to have any spot where it bunched up a little bit and you just missed it and kept going, because you're going to have to come back and straighten that out and push all your little bubbles and ripples out all the way to the bottom. All that extra slack you want at the bottom of the door. So you're going to press that in, and it should seat in pretty much by itself once you get it going. You just need to press along with it. And then when you get the outside portion of the door done, you're going to come back down to the bottom of the door, and you're going to line that up on your track from the bottom of the door. And you're going to just press in the bottom, even if you don't have it connected inside here. Press in the bottom so it's kind of lined up, and then you'll be able to go down the door here. You should be able to reach up into the door down here to press the track in. There is another way you can do this. These tracks, these metal tracks down there, that guy, are fully removable. This is the only bolt that holds them in. Up here at the top, there's a little it flares out and wraps around the inside of this column piece. You can fully remove this track before you install, and then you can wiggle that down into the door after you put the track on it. But I highly suggest against this because this will make it harder to pull the slack out. It is best to start from the top corner of the door and work your way down, and it's generally easier in my opinion. And so if you're having trouble getting the alignment with the rubber, do take this track piece out and do it that way, because it may be the only way you can get it fully aligned, and then kind of wiggle it in and work those bubbles down. And it's going to be the same thing on this side. After you get the outside portion of the door in, you're going to come back to your corner and you're going to work this way, pressing in your track. all the way to here and make sure that this corner seats in really well. What I found when I did mine is there was a little bit of slack once I got here. So what I did is I made sure the corner seated and kind of worked that little ripple of slack back this way. And slowly it just got smaller and smaller and smaller until there was none left by the time I got back over here. And that can be based on the temperature it is outside. The rubber may have expanded, how long this item's been sitting on a shelf and it's kind of stiff and not as flexible as it should be. There's a few different reasons to get that, but you want to make sure that your corners are right where they need to be. It'll be the same thing over here for getting the track all lined up. As I said, with the other side, you can take this track fully out, this metal track piece, and just put the rubber into the track piece itself, swing the track piece down into the door, and then start lining up from there. But again, you're going to have to go through here and work all that slack down to the bottom. And I'm going to really suggest that you go through and do a once over after it's all installed, just running your hand over the track itself, making sure that all the ripples and bubbles are out and that it's good to go. And then you're pretty much going to go into reverse order install of what you already did. The first step is going to be you need to reconnect one of your tracks to line your window up. I usually opt to do the hinge side, so I'm going to go put that bolt down there and that nut up there back on. So I've got my bolt back in down here at the bottom of the track, my nut up here. You may notice that down here this bolt has a little bit of play. Right now what you want to do is just tighten it down so it doesn't have any play. And what you're going to do is take your window and scoot it towards the open side of the door, and then through the top of the door you're going to align the window back into the rubber channel, and you're going to need to hold the window against that rubber channel while you line up your other track and slide it over the edge of the window into the rubber channel, and then put that bolt in. And then once that's done, we're going to go through and work with the play of each side, because they have a little bit of play, and get it aligned on the window so the window isn't too tight or too loose on the tracks. Just a small correction there. Forgot from doing this last time I did it. It's way easier to actually take the window and put it back on its track. Sorry, put it back on its channel for the window motor. Get your 10mm bolt on here, back onto this guy. Your 10mm bolts in there, back onto that guy. Slide that bar, get in lock position, tighten down one of those nuts. And then you can see we're obviously not lined up with our track, but now we can actually slide the window back and forth on our window motor, and that will make this much easier to do instead of having to hold the window at the same time. I'll make this video too much longer. What I ended up having to do was actually take the window off of its motor up into this space while it's still hanging in the door, angle it so I could sit it in the top part of the track here with that nut on, and then once it's in there, angle it back to sit in this part of the track here with this bolt on, so this one's locked in place, and then lower it down to the motor. My bar was down here, so I could sit it back on that bar so I didn't have to hold it, and it was lined up inside of this track, and I just had to bring this track in and tighten it up and put that bolt back in it. And I tightened up that bolt, tightened up that bolt, made sure my bolts on my window were tight, and then just ran the window up and down. This is our final check after we get everything tightened back up. It's not jumping the track, it's not bending it. A good note for something that might happen is I had that part of the rubber right there had bent in a little bit when I got it in, so I just took a flathead screwdriver and ran it down the edge of the window and pulled that rubber back out. Once you get to the door, it kind of just pops free, and it's good. That should pretty much get you through most, if not all, of this install. Everything from here is really basic. Cover your access holes back up with your vapor shield or duct tape. Get your door panel back on, your handle, and all that. and you can just go back to the beginning of the video to see where all that's at. Alright, I hope this video was more helpful. Sorry it's a long one. This was a little bit more challenging than I thought to do, and I did spend a lot of time wrestling the window back and forth to get it into the channels correctly. Let me know if there's other stuff you guys want to see, and if this was actually helpful.